It's called planning, and we need to be planning our lives and our families' lives and our futures.
Exactly. You hit it right on the head, Paul. Speaking to, what you're doing, I also think about, I have like a little portfolio, with like 25, $30 in there with, just for my future kids,
Right.
because I know at one point in time, they're they're going to be in my situation. They're going to be out and living and doing things just like I am. So, being able to plant a little seed to give them a little boost in life will, goes a long way.
Hi, and welcome to the Investing on a 9 to 5 podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Teddie. We are excited that you are joining our show, Investing on a 9 to 5, where we will talk about our investment journey, our current strategies, and learn about all kinds of investing related topics. But before we dive in, we are not financial advisors. We will not be held liable for any personal investing decisions or losses that you may occur in the market. This page is purely for entertainment purposes only.
Welcome back to the Investing on a 9 to 5 YouTube and podcast. It is your boy, the Dividend Dog, and Paul, Options Legacy.
Morning.
We are here on a Saturday bringing you guys some news. I know you guys are more than likely excited out there because the stock market has started the year off with some solid gains out there. Paul, how was the market for you this week?
I think we had a pretty good week in the market. Our 9 to 5s take over a lot of what we do. So in my personal job, I'm hiring some new staff. So we came back a week late or a day late because of the holiday. And then I jumped into the week doing our administrative stuff on the onboarding side of some new people I hired. So for me, that's what kind of goes into the core of what the dividends and the selling of option premium is all about. Mm-hmm. It's a set it. And for the most part, you could forget it for a short period of time, like week or two. We're not watching some penny stock that we're hoping for a few ticks in to sell. We're not watching our charts to say, okay, it's time to close this swing trade or something like that. I'll do a few of those from time to time on a small part just to have some fun. But it's not anything that's controlling my portfolio to the point where I'm nervous if I'm away from the computer for a couple of hours. So overall, though, I think we did good this week. I think I banked a couple $100 in options premium. Jeppy paid out this week, so that was a nice.
Yes, Jeppy did pay out the dividend.
So overall, I mean, I can't complain about the week. It was a good week.
Yeah, no, same on my end. Portfolio was rolling smooth. Got some dividends during the week, which was awesome, and then loaded up on some Intel this week. So finally got up to 10 shares of that. So that was like my check mark for the week there. But leading into what we're going to be talking about on today's episode is my challenge, or not even my challenge, the challenge that we have going on Twitter. I don't know if you guys are on Twitter, but you guys that are on Twitter, I mean, you guys see that, we're talking about SCHD, buying it every single week. It's the 52-week challenge is what it's called. The Twitter handle, his name is Disney, and he's the one that basically like brought it to my attention, that he was like starting it, and probably a lot of other followers are now starting to do it. And so this week I started purchasing one share of it. I'll be trying to purchase another share every single week leading up to all the way to the end of the year. So that'll give you 52 shares by the end of this year. So granted, I already have 37 shares in SCHD. Starting out, it's Powerhouse ETF. We've talked about it here on the channel before. Just to give you guys a breakdown of who SCHD is, if you guys are new to the channel. But they basically track the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index. So it's basically like top 100 companies that are paying like a high dividend over a certain period of time. And what I like about these guys is they have top performers within the ETF. So their top 10 holdings is Merck & Co., again, IBM, Cisco, Verizon, Broadcom, Home Depot, Texas Instruments, Pfizer, PepsiCo, Lockheed Martin, and Coca-Cola.
Solid names.
Yeah, solid names with a strong history of returns and dividends, and also dividend growth. The companies, that have to get into this, they have to have at least 10 years of dividend growth.
Is that for the SCHD in general? They have to have that? Okay, cool.
SCHD.
I wasn't aware of that aspect of it. That's neat.
Mm-hmm. And it's more so just like a value dividend play. Once I mentioned before, these companies that are in this, like Verizon and Pfizer, they're defensive stocks. IBM, Merck Co. Texas. These are companies, once again, if we were to go back and the world were to stop again, these companies will still be in need. And these are companies that are being used every single day as well. And, during COVID 2022, Newmont is one of their holders, not one of their like top 10 holders that they have, but and Verizon, they held up the ETF during COVID during 2022, or not 2022, but during 2020. And so I'm just gonna break it down for some new listeners out there, a little bit deeper into SCHD, the metrics behind it, and to why we're aiming to get 52 shares, and why we are aiming to get at least 100 shares within this ETF, SCHD. So I'm gonna share my screen for the viewers out there on YouTube. Sorry for our podcast folks, but you guys can watch it on the YouTube channel, and we'll be able to show you there. All right, awesome. So here we are, live looking SCHD. Total returns for the past 5 years, 75% return with the S&P at 54. So smashing it once again. The past year, it returned 1.4%, and S&P has returned negative 15.7. I think ETF SCHD returned negative 1.4. I think I said that. But as you guys can see, it's obviously keeping up with the S&P 500 and beating it, and it's also $77 too. So it's not even $400 compared to what you would pay to get in some of the S&P 500 ETFs.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that we gotta go out and find the cheapest stocks or anything for pricing, but it's also cool to know that too. That hey, it's only $77 to purchase this, and we get all this power behind it. So over time, the calculated dividend growth has grown tremendously since 2011. Right now, last year it finished, $2.56 compared to 21 is at $2.25. So they're going to continue to increase those dividends because the companies that are in there, Paul, they have to, they already have that list of, increasing their dividends for.
They're achievers. They're aristocrats. They're dividend kings. They don't want to get dropped off those lists, so they're going to continue doing some increases.
So it's a no-brainer. I can sleep at night knowing that these companies are working for me. And since 2011, with reinvestment increase, with investors like reinvesting the dividends, SCHD, your returns is going from 211%. I mean, that's not like a big deal or anything, to 277% just by reinvesting the dividends over time with growth. So once again, just showing you how powerful compounding, interest is over time, with this ETF.
Compounding.
And I'm going to bring over one more chart here to you guys to show you. I think this is the 5-year chart for SCHD, and this is from Stock Charts here, or you go on finviz.com and you can get this for free as well. But this is basically just showing the trending chart of SCHD over time. As you can see, it is just positively moving in a positive direction. Obviously in 2020 here, COVID, obviously with everything dropping, but look at the performance afterwards. Imagine if you would have got in around this time here, So we're gonna go, we're gonna try to buy, 1 share a week, end up with, more than 100 shares one day. That's the goal. Good. But for this year will be the goal for this one. And I'm going to pull up to the income for this. 100 shares of SCHD cost us $7.76. So this is my little calculator here, and it tracks out your dividend payments here. So you get to 100 shares of SCHD. So over 5 years, the portfolio will go from $7.76. So portfolio value would be at $15,000. No money invested if we get to 100 shares. By the end of this year, 5 years, it'll be at 15, producing $520 of dividend income.
This is with a drip?
Yeah, and this is with reinvesting the dividends. Yes.
Right.
Yep. And then with reinvesting it, the dividend growing at the rate that it's growing now, right? So it's just look at the yield on cost over time. Could you imagine like 20, like look at this, 20 years, just SCHD now, and this is no money invested, Paul. Nuts, right? And guys, I'm not putting in anything just to like show this. It breaks it all down for you. Even the share price. I can see this ETF getting to this pricing here, $137. It's going to be a tale like, oh man, I remember when SCHD was $7 or $77 and so on. But yes, guys, this is SCHD. This is the ETF. I am going all in on this year and going to try to get a share a week. Just keep it nice and simple and hope for the best. Once again, it's not financial advice, but this is possibly one of the best low risk ETF in the stock market that you can put your money in right now. Yeah, I would say.
I think what we are trying to demonstrate, like you said, is not suggestions or advice to go buy this, but it's just showing how. I mean, even with today's technology, with like I use Fidelity. So if I wanted to, let's say I didn't want to go buy one share per week, but I wanted to buy $20 per week or $25 per week of SCHD, you can do that. You can't do that with TD Ameritrade or Schwab. Schwab has a fractional share program, but you have to buy shares of companies from the S&P 500. TD, as far as I know right now, doesn't have fractional shares, but you could do it, I think, in Robinhood and Webull and Fidelity. Like it's, you didn't want to have to put in $77, $89, $100 a week if the share price goes up, but you can set your dollar cost averaging, and it doesn't have to be in SCHD,
right.
It can be in any stock or any ETF or any basket of stocks. But this is just a demonstration for we have a lot of listeners. I know we have listeners who are really experienced that we go to for advice and information about dividends. And then there's listeners who are maybe just getting into this because of, it's looking like for the next couple of years, at least, this is going to be a solid strategy compared to the growth investing that has been happening over the last couple of years. So for those of you who are new to this, just look at this as a way to put in, $5, $10, $20, $30 a week, a month, a day, however you can do it into a company and let these small little bits of investments compound and grow over time. And if you're as young and chipper as the dog here, then you've got lots of years ahead of you. You can look at that chart from the 15, 25 year columns and see how much your income can grow. If you're an old salty dog like me, then
guys, you have more time than you think.
Right.
On with investing, you have more time than you think with this. This is not an overnight process.
No,
it's not overnight. Next week, next month, next year. This is 15, 25 years down the line. Yeah. I mean, we're gonna work till that time anyway, right? So we might as well.
Still working. Even if I've thought the other day, even if I, was wealthy where I didn't have to work, I would find something to do because I'm not a sit at home, watching TV kind of person. Even if I didn't have to go to work 9 to 5, I'd have something to do. So, this would be part of it. But at the same time, we're going to be hopefully investing not for yourself, but if you think about it, the way I have like my Roth and my work 403B set up, those aren't investments I'm planning on using. Those aren't investments that I'm going to retire on. I have my retirement set up. Those investments are going to be things that are my legacy to my kids. So if I go into a company that has a dividend growth, a strong CAGR, and a solid company, then my 10-year-old and my 7-year-old kids, they've got 60 years ahead of them, and 50 years ahead of them for this kind of stuff. So look at that number right there, just in SCHD, it's conceivable that, they could be millionaires by the time they're my age, just from my efforts now. And that's a perspective I think you need to have besides just looking at yourself and what you're doing. I know that the dog here is newly married, but I know that they have plans for a family. And I know this is something that he's thinking about for his kids' future. And they're not even here yet, so this is just, it's called planning, and we need to be planning our lives and our families' lives and our futures.
Exactly. You hit it right on the head, Paul. Speaking to, what you're doing, I also think about, I have like a little portfolio, with like 25, $30 in there with, just for my future kids,
right.
Because I know at one point in time, they're going to be in my situation, they're going to be out and living and doing things just like I am. So, being able to plant a little seed to give them a little boost in life will, goes a long way.
That's good. I like this. I like the theory behind the averaging in, the dollar cost averaging in on a regular basis and putting that money to work. I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. And guys, you see, I mean, we're all surrounding each other, connecting, growing, and getting ideas and making it work, and knowing that others out are doing it and trying to make it. So join along with us here on this journey. We will not try to steer you wrong as much as possible. But for our YouTube viewers out there, on the screen, I slimmed it down. So if you were to purchase 10 shares right now at I think it rounded up at $777, and you do no money invested after, look what happens. I mean, in 25 years, I mean, that's still sitting 21,000, 51,000 portfolio value potentially off of $700, just by investing in, within this ETF that has these companies that are so strong with growing their dividends. Basically what we're preaching, they have them all in this ETF. I wish I can go out and buy Broadcom and HD and all those. I don't have enough funds to do that. So this ETF does it for me. One thing before I hand it over to Paul, I'm going to end off on a funny one. So I was scrolling through Yahoo Finance comments, and I clicked on some guy's profile, and one guy said he's been investing for like 45 years, and SCHD is like the best ETF he's ever seen. And I forgot to screenshot it, but I'm gonna go back and find it and post it on Twitter for you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
heck yeah.
If they're saying it, guys, and they've been in the game for almost my lifetime, then this is something that you guys should take a look at and potentially add it to your watch list or invest in it.
Right. Trust me, you're gonna blink your eye and turn around, and all of a sudden you're bald and gray.
Seriously.
It happens fast.
Seriously. But yeah, that's all that I had for us on my end, and just wanted to give you guys a shout out there, 9 to 5 Nation, for running up the downloads on our podcast, and
thank you guys,
followers, for hitting the like and subscribe button out there. Make sure you guys do it for this video and comment for us too. And I'm gonna hand it over to Paul. Paul's gonna give us an update on his strategy for the dog of the Dow. He's not gonna be talking about me, but he will be talking about some dogs in the stock. Hand over to Paul.
So I was ever since it wasn't before the podcast started, I was thinking about different strategies that are out there. This is a new one for the SCHD buy, but one I was aware of was the dogs of the Dow strategy. Mm-hmm. So what the dogs of the Dow is the strategy is on the first of the year, you buy the 10 highest yielding Dow stocks. So the Dow Industrial Average is an index of 30 stocks. It's been around since the stock market. It's very, very old. And I actually think it's kind of an antiquated way to look at the market. When people talk about the market, they're usually either talking about the S&P 500 or the Dow. But the Dow is such a small ETF. There's only 30 stocks in it, but it's supposed to be like these top industrial names and that would show like the weather of the country and how the economy is moving. Whether that's true or not is really debatable. The S&P 500, I think, definitely has more of a pulse on the country as a whole because it has 500 stocks, 500 of the largest companies in the United States. So given you the basis of what the Dow is, the dogs of the Dow takes the 10 highest yielding stocks. So we all know, from our basic dividend education, to get a high yield, that means that the stock pays out a dividend compared to the price of the stock will give you the yield. So if the yield is high, we generally know that sometimes, when we see too high of a yield, then we're kind of worried about that company. Why is the stock price so low and the yield so high? For example, AT&T, when it was going through its troubles with high debt and mergers, its dividend was creeping up to the point where people were afraid it was going to be cut pretty soon, and they weren't trusting it, and it ended up didn't get cut. Mm-hmm. So that's, there's the good and the bad about looking for high yield stocks. The dogs of the Dow, because the Dow is an established index, and the companies in it are generally considered to be pretty strong and supportive of the economy as a whole. It seems to be maybe a little safer way to play a higher yielding company. Having said that, companies in the Dow were like GE. So GE is not even, it's still a company. Yeah. It didn't break up and go bankrupt, but it went through a lot of trouble. And you can go to the history of the Dow Industrial Average and find, there are companies in there that, there's actually a website I found. I couldn't find it again for this podcast, but there's a website I found that tracks like the lineage of the Dow stocks and where, this one was a Dow stock and was bought out by this company and merged with this company. And now it's this company. And so it's interesting when you get into it, if you have that kind of interest. So I decided to go ahead and do the Dogs of the Dow. So there's a website called the Dogs of the Dow. It's a free site. I think all the data on it is free, but that you can pay to have like an ad-free version, which I went ahead and did just because, to be honest with you, with the ads on it, there's a lot of noise. This is their frequently asked questions page, and I'm looking at this to get to know how I'm going to work this thing later on this year. So what they do is they basically suggest on the 31st or the first of the year, you buy the top 10 of the highest yielding Dow stocks, and they publish that on this website. This is the list of the dogs in Dow this year. So the yield is over here and the price. So there's a lot of companies that we share. I can tell already. We have Verizon and Intel in here. Amgen, you mentioned Amgen. 3M is one that's kind of embattled. I know there's going to be a lot of people with opinions about 3M because of the courts and things that's going on.
Shout out to my boy John Kane out there. He's been faithfully buying 3M out there.
There we go. So anyway, so that's the Dogs of the Dow. And here's a little thing down here just showing its performance over the last few years. So in 2015, it returned 2.6%. 2016, 20%, 2017. So my thinking behind it was we're coming into what is possibly going to be a recessionary environment. And so I'm thinking that this may be a solid strategy for that type of environment. These companies are the bellwethers for the economy. So getting into them early in the pre-recession or in the middle of the recession could benefit you in the long run over the course of a year. In honesty, I think this may be a little early. If my full thesis was based on just that potential recession, then 2023 might be a little early to play it. 2024 might be a larger, rebound year from any kind of recession. But I figured I'll go ahead and start it this year and see how it goes. Yeah. So, and that the thing with this strategy is that you rebalance. So right here, some people have, there's a rebalance process, whether or not, and then there's some suggestions to whether or not you sell all of your stocks and buy them all back, or whether you keep the ones that were still on the list and just buy new ones. You can go in detail into the website and find, their suggestions and ideas and decide how you want to do it, if you follow this type of process or not. But so just for full transparency, I'm going to show you all the actual, this is my actual portfolio. I did it in Schwab. I usually use Fidelity, like I mentioned earlier, but with Schwab, number one, all these stocks are in the S&P 500. So it's part of their Schwab Slices program. And with Fidelity, you have to go buy individual stocks on, like you do a trade for each stock. You do one for Dow, one for Intel, one for Verizon. You can put a dollar amount in and say, I want $200. This one, 200, 200, 200, if that's what you're doing. But for the ease of this, because I knew I was going to be buying 10 at once, I use Schwab because that's what you do. With Schwab, you put each one in a bucket, and then you say, I'm going to put $1,000 into each of these, and you hit one button, one trade, and it does all of them at one time. So that's why I did it in Schwab. So it's just more mechanical than anything. And I like their layout for here, so you can see that.
It's very, very, very like laid out.
Yeah, I bought them. Let me see if I can show you the lot. This lot details are the same for all of them. So I bought them all on the 3rd.
Okay.
So because they did the transactions all at once. So this is from the January 3rd, which was the first day of trading for this year. Here's the cost base. About $100 went into each one. And then, like I said, it's been a good week. I'm up for the week 3.8%. Not bad.
Yeah. Intel had a solid week.
Yeah. So I have them set on dividend reinvest, as you can see over here. I haven't decided if I'm going to do like a weekly or a monthly DCA. I was thinking this would be like a set it and forget it kind of experiment. But as I was thinking more about, what I said earlier about this being a recessionary year, if we do end up having, a few drawdowns this year, I'd like to participate in those. So I may do this as like, maybe a $10 a week or something like that, maybe $100 a week, just to get like a decent buy into each one on a weekly basis. So I'll think about that more this weekend. And if I do, then I'll make that like a Monday trade for each one, or Tuesday. I like Tuesday trades for two reasons. I have my M1 set up to do Tuesday automatic trades because, number one, there's usually Monday holidays. If there's going to be a holiday, it's going to be on a Monday. And I've noticed that when we've had Mondays that end up being really strong, then there's usually a Tuesday pullback. So you can sometimes take advantage of that. And this is just based on M1's trading. If you all use M1, you basically, unless you pay for it, you have one trading window a day, and it's the first thing it does in the morning.
So it's 9:30. If you miss that, it's over.
So I like having Tuesday with M1 because I can see what happens on Monday, and I can make a judgment on Monday if I want to put a little bit more money in, if I think Tuesday might be a gap down. If Monday is a really, really, really red day, then I'll put a little bit more money in the M1 to buy a little more on Tuesday morning, because it's unlikely that the Tuesday gap up is going to be equal to the Monday drawdown. So I put a lot of thought into the M1. So I'll think about this when like I said, I may do a weekly or monthly DCA into this account, and we'll update on Twitter and stuff. And I think we'll do some regular updates between us on this strategy, how it goes over the year, and then go from there.
Yes, sir. And I mean, those are all solid companies. So we got the dogs of the Dow, and we're going to be tackling that. And Paul is going to be doing that DCA in it. Thing he's going to think about over the weekend. He's going to DCA, which dollar cost and averaging, which everybody could do. Like he said, $10, $20, whatever you got, $100 a week or $100 a month, whatever you got, just get that money, working for you, because over time it that money compounds quicker than you going to work.
That's what it's all about. It's all about just putting that money to work. So I want to share one more thing real quick, because I use a lot of different platforms because there's just different tools for each one. So another one I like using is for my tracking of my portfolios. I use TD Ameritrade. Their desktop site, you can create a watch list. You can set the watch list up where you put in numbers of shares, average cost basis, and then you can set your columns, to track it for different ways, for a dividend payment, X dates, or just, increasing over time. One tool they have that I really like is their income estimator. So it's a real quick and dirty way to look at a dividend payer. So this is what they show for the dogs of the Dow. So based on my current
I like this. That's cool.
Yeah, these are the stocks I have. So because I have some that are fewer than a share, it logs it as 0. So what I'll do sometimes, I'll just go make that a 1 just to get some ideas about what this dividend payout.
Yeah, I honestly I do that too, just because it gives you a better idea of what, because you're eventually going to have one share.
Right, and it gives you, and this is like we're talking. Sometimes you're talking frank, half of a share. So
got to get all the way down.
This is going to break the bank. I'm not budgeting on this, but this just gives you a visual what that looks like. So with $1,000 in, you're looking at $50 a year in dividends, no drip. This is just if taking the monthly or the quarterly payment in cash. So the drip is actually going to affect it more. I like your calendar. I've never seen yours before, your little calculator, because it's been hard to find.
I'll send it over to you.
I'd appreciate that, because it's hard to find one that really gives you an accurate drip calculation.
And then for our followers out there too, I'll find a way to put it on the Twitter and
we can, if you want to, we can post in our we can post a link in our link tree, and you can make it like I don't know if it's a Google Doc or not, but we can share a Google Doc. That's where the
that what we'll do. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll find a way to get it out there to you guys, just so you guys can have access to this too, because it's a really cool tool to see, and you can do it too for a monthly dividend calculator too with this. This will just show you quarterly, and then I have another tab at the bottom that'll show you for the monthly, if you were to do like a monthly dividend stock.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that is all that we had rounded up for you guys on this fine Saturday, right before noon. Hope you guys are out there living your best life. Hope you guys have had your coffee, your breakfast, or
your Celsius, Dave.
Or if you hit the gym like Dave. But we definitely thank you guys for joining us here on our Investing on a 9 to 5 podcast and YouTube channel. It is your boy, the Dividend Dog, and Paul, Options Legacy. We will see you guys on the next video.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Bye.